Hi guys, welcome to another video. I can't say episode because I'm not really doing a series right now. So yeah, this episode I'm just kind of doing random things as I get ideas, and maybe one day I will do a series of some sort. This week I have decided to do an episode or a video about my dog Cleo. So if you don't know who Cleo is, she is my 2.5-year-old purebred Dalmatian dog, and she is my little heart and soul dog, and I just really love her. She's in almost every single one of my Instagram videos. If you follow me over there, you know who she is. I get tons of questions about her, how she runs so well with me, like just lots of different questions. So today the video that I'm doing is just going to be all things Cleo. I'm going to try and give out as much information as I can. So first I want to talk a little bit about just the breed. Dalmatians are endurance dogs. So people are always asking, how can she run that far with you? A lot of it is her breed. Like you're not going to get this from certain breeds. So you can't expect certain dogs to do the amount of miles. And it also is just very dog dependent. Like I just got lucky with a dog that loves running just as much as me. So a little bit about the breed. They were bred to run alongside like fire carriages next to the horses back in the day, and they're bred to run like 20 plus miles every day. So that being said, she is an endurance queen. Like when I tell you she can go for hours and hours and hours, she will. If it's the perfect weather, like not too hot, she would literally go all day if I let her. The other thing about the breed I think is important to spread awareness on is they have a certain gene. So they're either HUA or LUA. Cleo is HUA, so that means she forms these crystals and stones. And they're not regular, they're from too much purine in their diet. So a lot of dogs can have like organ meats, but she cannot because they're high in purines. If she gets too many purines, she starts forming crystals, etc. And then it's this really expensive surgery to get them like blasted so they can pass them. And a lot of vets just are not very familiar with that, depending on where you live and how common Dalmatians are. I just have to be super careful with what she eats. I make all of her food, and we just do like regular vet visits to make sure she's not forming any stones. Yeah, so that's just something to think about before you consider this breed. Another thing to consider is their energy levels. Like, yeah, she's a great running partner, but they are very high energy dogs. And if you don't train them to have an off switch, they will be crazy all day long. She's a very chill dog now that she's past the puppy stage. She knows that when we're inside, it's like chill time. I mean, sometimes in the morning she wants to play and be a little crazy, but I've taught her how to calm down. Like she has a place where she can go on her bed and just lay. If she's being too crazy, I'll tell her to go on her bed, and then usually she'll just kind of stay there and chill out. So I think it's just important, like, you have to make sure they're going to fit your lifestyle and not just get a dog for looks. I've always loved Dalmatians, but when we started researching dogs, I mean, we didn't research too much because she kind of just fell into our lap. I was reading about the breed before we decided, and I was like, okay, this is a no-brainer for me. I can do all these things with her health. Like, we're able to care for her, like with her vet bills and stuff. I felt like we were in a place financially to be able to care for her. And two, we're always out hiking, running, camping, etc. So it's very easy to have a high energy dog and do all those things. I was also in a place with my kids where I was able to dedicate a ton of time to train her when she was a puppy and take her out and about and all the things to get socialized. Honestly, it's going to be totally dog dependent. I might have just gotten really lucky with a dog that can run this much. There might be other Dalmatians out there that don't love to run this much, but I do keep her at like a sport weight. I don't let her get chubby because we do run a lot and we're always active. Yes, there's days she's not going to run a ton, but I still take her on little 2 or whatever, like 2-mile walks, or so she just fits our lifestyle. So let's talk gear. So some of my favorite gear that I use for my dog. I use Nonstop Dog Wear. Those are my favorite harnesses. I feel like for bigger chested dogs, they just work really great. We have the 5.0 line harness, I think. It's perfect because they can wear it comfortably. They can pull a little bit if they need, and it just stays put. And it's not like restricting shoulder movement or anything like that. And then I also have a bungee leash from Nonstop Dogwear that we use with the harness. I also have the double like leash too, so I can take both my dogs. And then as far as the waist attachment, I just got one off Amazon. I have like the Nonstop Dogwear one, but it's for like canicross, and we don't do that style of running, so I don't really use it. But I just use the Amazon one, put it around my waist, and then clip on the Nonstop bungee leash. And that's what I use when we're leash running. We do a lot of off-leash running because of where we live. It's pretty rural out there. Like I rarely see anyone when I'm out running. So she's off-leash a lot of the times. So when we're going on a trail that I know we're going to probably see other people or it's a busier trail, she wears her free run leash. Guys, this is so cool. It's actually a harness and it's got like a 3-foot retractable leash with a handle built in. And it's just like a nice little foam handle. So when it retracts back in, it's not heavy on her. It's a very lightweight harness. But if I need to, I can call her to me, hold on to the handle as we pass people, etc. I love it. She uses it all the time, and I recommend it if your dog is trained off leash, but you still like want that peace of mind. So that's basically the only like equipment we use. I guess like some of her collars, I use Boulder Canine Leash and Collar Company that I've used. And we really like those. They have tons of fun colors. As far as gear, that's most of the gear we use. Okay, and now let me look at some questions that you guys had. So a lot of you just want like training info because she is so good to just like run by me, and I don't know, she listens. She's good. She doesn't just run off. This again is totally gonna probably be like dog dependent, breed dependent. I've always been able to trust her off leash. She's never been a dog that wants to run away from me. So I've never really been concerned about it, but I did know in the beginning we were going to be doing lots of off leash running. So I wanted her trained very good with recall and all of those things so I could trust her off leash. From the moment we brought her home, I started training. I just did like basic commands just to build that bond. And I would do like 15-minute sessions multiple times a day. And then we would start taking our sessions outside. We did a lot of Home Depot, Lowe's, stuff like that. I think the biggest thing with training your dog is just creating that bond. I mean, I'm not a trainer, so I can't give out all this advice, but I really do think the bond you make with your dog is going to help how they respond to the training. And for me and her, training was like a fun thing. She likes training and I like doing it. And in return, we created this bond. Yeah, I just like took her to Home Depot every day. I was out in my front yard, like training her as cars drove by, kids drove by, etc. Just trying to get her exposed to everything. And then as she got she was horrible on the leash. She still can be, but I've taught her commands to help her kind of know, like, we're in a hill or we're staying by me. We're not pulling, especially if she's just wearing her collar. I don't like her to pull. That's something she knows she can do a little bit more of with her harness. And it just takes time. I feel like the older she gets, it's like a maturity thing too. Like now she's 2.5 and she's pretty good at all of that. So it just kind of depends. Yeah, so let's see what else with training. Yeah, the biggest thing is I feel like if you're going to have an off-leash dog, they've got to have a good recall. From the moment she was tiny, I would take her on like little hikes just out in the middle of nowhere where I knew I wouldn't see anybody and let her run. And then I would have a ton of treats with me and call her back and reward heavily. And I just did that 5 million times, like every time we went out. And then we would make it harder. Like we'd go somewhere new where it's more exciting for her. And same thing, recall her, reward heavily. And I really just think it helped having that bond with her first. Yeah, so I think that's the biggest thing as to why she's not just running off. But also I think it just depends on your dog. Some dogs are more like adventurous and want to do that. But she loves to stay next to me because she knows I have the treats. And that's the other thing. I bring treats on every run. She's a very food motivated dog. So I have treats no matter what, because if we run into an unexpected situation or if there's a off-leash dog coming at us or whatever, I like to be able to have treats to reward her for those type of situations. And also just because why not give her some extra treats on her run. But I really started getting her into running. So when she was about almost a year, I started letting her go like 5-ish miles. So she used to go on like 2 to 4 mile walks, just kind of here and there to get out some energy, nothing crazy. And my vet said I could start her running more at around a year. Since she is on the smaller side, some vets say to wait till 18 months. But she is a very small Dalmatian. She's like 36 pounds. So I just felt best starting her at a year, and we just slowly eased into it. She was starting at about 5 miles, and then we just slowly over the next probably 6 months progressed that run until she was able to do a long run. And then by the time she was 18 months, she was doing my long, like 14 miles with me, 16 miles. And then we continued that. And then after she hit 2, I've been taking her on like my extra long runs. So 4.5 hours, I think she went 27 miles. That's been her furthest. And so it's just kind of like a human. You just have to train them, ease them into it, and don't overdo it all at once. Also, listen to your dog. She loves to run, and the main thing is making sure she's not running too much, because she would probably just go forever and not, especially when the weather's not hot and she's not getting tired. She just kind of is like, whatever, I'll do whatever you do. So that's something you have to pay attention to. And some people say it doesn't matter because the way they absorb nutrients and stuff is different than humans eat. Something like that. And then I'll also do like dehydrated sweet potatoes or other dehydrated treats. They're small, easy to carry. And then every time I'm like fueling, I can just give her a couple. When we do our longer runs, it really depends on the weather. Sometimes she doesn't want to drink at all. Other times she'll have a few sips. So, but I always have it just in case. We don't use paw shoe, like the little shoes, booties or anything. I just don't, it's not going to work where we run. There's lots of like sand and dirt and gravel, and then it gets inside there and then it irritates their paw more than just running on it. So she hasn't had any issues. Her paws are nice and callous. And now when we're out running, I rarely have to put her in a command. She just kind of does her thing and checks in with me often. The only time I have to put her in a command is if we're passing like a car or other people, or I see a dog or something like that. It's not this all the time thing. And she just kind of knows, like if she sees a car, usually she'll come back next to me. So I hope this helps. Let me see if there was any other questions. Oh yeah, so some of the other questions were like, what commands did I teach her? This is just kind of what I am used to saying and what kind of stuck. So heel, obviously, that was a big one. When I want her right next to me, no, she has to be next to me. Like that's the one that I use. And then if it's a situation where I don't need her right next to me, but I want her close, I just say stay by me. And she's learned over time that she kind of knows what distance she can go. If she crosses that distance that I think she's too far away, I just remind her. And that wasn't something I just like sat down and worked on with her and taught. It was just over time running with her. I would just say it again and again and again, and she figured it out. And then another one that she kind of figured out on her own was stay behind, which I do this one when we're on a single track and we need to pass someone. If they're stepping off to the side for us, I say stay behind and then we pass. And then if we're going to pass, I will usually say place to get her off the trail. She stays in her place and then they pass. So it just depends. That one we worked on a ton. We did that at home. We do it at Home Depot. We do it at other places out and about hiking on rocks, just so she knows that. Place command is anything I point to, like point over to this rock, place. Like she knows that's what that means. Stay behind was just one of those ones where I said it a lot. If she tried to pass in front of me, I'd kind of put my hand down and say, and then she figured it out. So yeah, those are, and then like sitting down. I don't really use those a lot when we're out running. Trying to think what other commands come in use. It kind of just depends like what you say to your dog. You could have these like one words, or it's just, or like when we're on a trail and there's going to be turning, my dogs don't know direction. Wish I would have taught them that. I probably still could, but instead, if they start going the other way, I just say this way, and then they know to look at me and see where I'm going and switch ways. Or usually they just, I think they realize like, oh, I'm going the wrong way. I'm going to try the other way and see if that's right. So that's another command I use quite a lot, is this way and let's go. Usually that means like, okay, we're turning around, time to go back. What's her peak mileage in a run? Okay, so The most she's done is 4.5 hours. I think we made it about 27 miles. But that was like a very slow, long run. Just if I'm doing more of like a moderate paced run or one of my workouts and she's with me, she gets tired faster because she's going faster. But I've done like a few 20 milers where it's at a moderate pace and she does fine. So it really just depends, and depends on the time of the year, like I said before. And then as far as weekly mileage, I honestly have no idea. It's pretty close to whatever my mileage is. She might usually miss one of my runs out of the week if I do a speed session on like the track or something. Or there's just certain workouts I don't bring her with, but I have done quite a few like workouts with her. So I would say anywhere between 50 to 70. It's very similar to mine. Did you follow a training program? So this is the stuff I don't want to get into. Yes and no. So we hired a trainer when she was a puppy, worked with them for a little bit. It was great. Basically, I would meet with the trainer once a week and then I would come home. I had to do homework every day. Anyway, some things happened. We couldn't use that trainer anymore. And I just ended up doing everything myself. Before we got her, I watched tons of like puppy training videos on YouTube. I spent the most time with her. The trainer had some great info, but overall, I'm the one that did the work. I'm the one that wanted to bond with my dog and put in the work. So yes, short answer, we used a trainer, but only for a little bit. How did you start the Home Depot training out in public? Okay, so we actually started doing Home Depot training, stuff like that, right after she got her last round of shots. So how old is that? 3 months? I don't know. 4 months? It's pretty young. Just started at Home Depot, had her on a leash, started working on all the things because it's a great area because there's lots of distractions and there's lots you can do. We did it a lot, probably the whole like first 3 or 4 months. Then we had to take a little break because of some issues. And then after that, we did it again. And now I rarely take her. It's just kind of here and there. We're out and about so much doing other things that I feel like she's getting good training that way. I did a ton of work just outside in my front yard, like in the driveway. My kids would be out playing with their noisy toys. The neighbors would be out, the cars driving by. I just think that helped a lot to socialize her and get used to all the commotion. So I spent lots of time outside just in the driveway, working on every single command, running through it. We worked a ton on duration. So like down stays for minutes and minutes and minutes. And then when she got good at that, that's when we introduced her to like on your bed command. And now she knows on your bed and she stays there. She cannot get off her bed. If she gets off, she gets corrected. Like every now and again, I will do training with her, just like 5-10 minute sessions at home, just like run through her commands. I focus a lot of it while we're out too. Like if I think her heel's getting rusty, I'll have her come into a heel. She has to run with me in a heel for 5 minutes or whatever. It's nice to be able to go out running and do training at the same time. Did you ever use a pinch collar? So we used one for right when she was 6 months, just for a little bit. Honestly, I didn't like it. I feel like she's such a polar dog. The only thing truly helps is having tons of treats in my hand and rewarding heavily when she's in the position I want her in. She, even with the prong put, whatever they're called, she still, and I didn't like it. So yes, we used it for a little bit, but I don't recommend. But also it depends on your dog. Some dogs might respond well. Can she walk good beside you or running only? That just kind of depends. A lot of the times when we go out just like around the neighborhood for a walk, it's like a sniff walk. So she just wants to sniff everything and I am usually okay with that, because usually I'm just letting her get out. I bring treats on every walk because I want her to listen, and that's how she listens really good. And then I can reward when she's doing what I want. She's a very good walking dog, but she definitely does better off leash, just running with me. There's been many times when I'm like, why do I even have her on a leash right now? Because she listens worse with the leash on, because she just forgets all of her manners. I don't know. But yeah, she can do both. It just takes time. And I think since we are running more, that's what she's used to and that's what we practice. I think if we went for more walks, then maybe she would be better at it, but we don't do a whole lot of walks. What does she eat? So like I mentioned before, she is HUA. She can form stones if we're not careful with her diet. Because of this, She was on kibble when she was a puppy. She was having horrible, horrible diarrhea, and I just was not a fan. I felt like her fur, like she was shedding way more than what was normal. I just did not like it. So I decided I wanted to look into raw feeding and gently cooked type food. So I just joined like a Facebook group, learned all I could learn, how to start, how to measure, how to all that. And I've been doing that. And then I just go to my vet and do blood work to make sure all of her like things are where they should be, to know I'm feeding her appropriately. Gets ground turkey, ground beef, chicken, sometimes fish. Those are like her main protein sources. And then lots of cottage cheese or cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, eggs, all the veggies, some fruit. Yeah, so that's what she eats. And it's worked really good for us. Her poops are great. When I just had her at the vet a couple months ago to get tested for stones, she's clear. She looks good there. I have been interested in working with a canine nutritionist to dial in a few things, but it's just so expensive. So I'm just kind of waiting to see what her next blood work looks like, but that's kind of what we do. Oh, she also gets a form of bone. It's important for raw fed dogs to have bone content. So she gets, either we go to our local like butcher and they have like ground turkey with bone ground into it, or I will give her like a chicken foot or a chicken wing or something like that where she can chew on it. Not cooked, they're all raw. Yeah, so that's what she eats. I'm trying to post weekly on my YouTube. I need all the ideas. So if you want to comment down below, either if you liked this video or if you have other video ideas or questions, go ahead and leave me a comment, and hopefully we can keep this going. YouTube's kind of fun. It's a whole new thing, so I'm excited to just learn as I go. And anyway, thank you guys for being here, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and have a good day. See ya!